Hi everyone, it's Claudio from Top Shelf Tuesday. We aired last night's show, but unfortunately YouTube wasn't ready for us, so they took the show down. We were able to fix that, so without further ado, I just want to present you with Top Shelf Tuesday. Don't forget to check in every Tuesday. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Good evening, my name is Claudio and this is Top Shelf Tuesday. Thanks for joining us tonight. As you can see, I'm riding solo tonight. Unfortunately for me, there's no Tim, but I think it's best for you guys. He's going to be well rested and you'll be able to see him on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. So, I listened to a lot of your comments, a lot of your emails, and I wanted to basically be myself and stop trying to read off of a script or tell stories that I know nothing about. So today I want to talk a little bit about who I am, where I came from, and basically what I'm passionate about, which is the high end. So I prepared a little bit of a video to share with all of you because I feel like a video is worth 1,000 words. When I travel a lot and I have a lot of downtime in between planes or layovers or canceled flights, I'm able to tap into my creative side, and everywhere that I go, I love taking pictures. So in the video that you're about to see is basically photographs and videos of just basically my life and the life that I live in this crazy watch industry of the high-end haute couture, haute horlogerie. And so I'd like to share this video with you. It's just a small preview of what you're about to see this upcoming year. And keep in mind, every Tuesday from here until eternity will be at 1921 Walnut at Govberg Jewelers on the 3rd floor. So we welcome you to watch live. We welcome you to visit the store. You can visit me. You can visit some of our sales associates on the 1st floor and basically get a preview as to all the watches that matter in the industry. As the video that you just saw was basically a journal for me. Everywhere I go, I guess I got it from my uncle, who's a photographer, and when I'm traveling alone or with colleagues or visiting clients, I always find ways to capture those moments. And whenever I have downtime, it's always interesting for me to put a collage together. So I started doing this because I wanted to share it with my wife, just to let her know where I was going, and this kind of evolved into a hobby for me. So if you like this video, I hope to make more. If not, too bad. So I want to talk a little bit about what this show really is about. And it's not just about watches, but it's about a lifestyle. It's about luxury. It's about cars. It's about travel. It's about being in this world of watches at the highest level. There are VIP trips. There's manufacturer visits. There's all sorts of possibilities for you to look into the world of the watch industry. And I've been an inside guy for almost 15 years now, and I'd love to share those experiences with you. I'd love to bring some of our friends that I've made over the years, whether they work for the brands or collectors or whatnot. But I could promise you that it will be entertaining. I won't be talking about watches in depth as Tim does, because lucky for us, he's the greatest living watch historian, expert on the planet, and I'm just glad that we have him on our team. So hopefully, Tim, someday I'll get you back on the show and we can have a little bit more fun. So let's get on to what today's topic is. And I want to start a little bit soft before I started getting into the crazy complications like the minute repeaters or the tourbillons. And let's start a little bit soft. Let's start with a chronograph. Everybody who knows watches maybe knows the brief history of what a chronograph is. It's basically a stopwatch. And history says in 1816, Louis Moinet basically made a chronograph, but it was solely for astronomical purposes. Then in 1821, Nicolas Mathieu Rieusec developed and marketed the first chronograph for the King Louis the 18th in 1821. That's because he liked to time horse races. However, in 2013, history actually changed, and it was found out that actually Louis Moinet was the actually first inventor of the chronograph in a pocket watch. So that's a little bit of history of where the chronograph came from. Today, mostly people use chronographs not for timing purposes. It's just a very cool looking dial feature. It doesn't bring the cost of your timepiece too high. So you get a complication without having to pay hefty prices for perpetual calendars, minute repeaters, tourbillons, and that stuff. And it gives a little bit of personality to your dial. So today, I chose 4 pieces to discuss and wanted to compare one another. The first piece, unfortunately, I don't have with me because it's actually being overhauled. And that's for another show, but I believe that every timepiece needs to be overhauled at least every 3 to 5 years. And like I said, that's for another show, but I think it's an important topic. It's not a death sentence, it's not a penalty, it's an absolute necessary. Think of your car when you think of your watch. Your car will definitely need upkeep, just like your watch. So the first piece that I chose was a Roger Dubuis, reference number RDD BEX 0116. I don't have this watch, like I said, because it's on repair, but I do have a few photos. The Excalibur was created in 2005 by Roger Dubuis, and since then it's become the most relevant watch in the actual brand portfolio. So the piece that I have, it's pretty important because it was one of the first models created by Roger Dubuis for the Excalibur collection, and since then it's evolved and it's become more and more important. You'll see in later models how it's evolved, how the case has become a bit thinner. Currently, Roger Dubuis doesn't make any more chronographs. So in actuality, from a collector's standpoint, it's a great piece to have because it's one of the only chronographs that still remains. It's also the RD78 movement, and if anybody knows the RD78 movement, it's actually one of the nicest movements out there. It's, first of all, it has a micro rotor, so it's not blocking the movement. It's unbelievably beautifully finished, which is thanks to the Poinçon de Genève, also the Geneva seal. And it is just a 2-counter chronograph. There is no date. So people who like dates on their watches, they might not like this piece. The other point is, it's a little bit big, so it's a 45mm case, and it wears thick. You can't really wear it under your shirt. And for me, that was never an issue. Whenever I wore my timepiece, I wanted everybody to see it, and I actually push my watch outside my shirt so that everybody can see what I'm wearing. It's made to be worn, not hidden. One of the other nice features on the timepiece is it has a deployant buckle. So when you take your watch off, some people like the deployant buckle, some people like the tang buckles, but the problem is if you take it off too quickly, it might fall on the floor. You crack that crystal, we're talking about several hundred, if not thousands of dollars to fix the timepiece. This watch is really important to me because I wore it at my wedding. I wore it when Mr. Dubuis first came to the United States, and I met with him in Geneva. He came from Geneva to Chicago, and that was actually his first time ever in the United States. I wore it at Art Basel with Gerard Butler, as you can see in the photo. That photo is actually a funny picture because Gerard Butler wanted to take a picture with me, and I said, sure thing. And when we took the first photo, I realized he was incredibly good looking and too tall. So I asked him, for my wife's sake, if he could make himself look less handsome and shorter. So that's why he got on his knees and took that picture. I have a million stories about this timepiece, but the point is I've worn it. It was my go-to watch every day. And when it came time to part ways with Roger Dubuis, and when my CEO offered me a timepiece and said, thanks for your service, of course, you know, you get to keep your timepiece. A million different timepieces flashed in my head, but that was the one that I knew I wanted to take with me. So for me, that's one of the most sentimental timepieces that I have. I'll never trade it. I'll never sell it. I'll only add to my collection, and I will trade other watches. I will sell other watches, which you can do obviously at Govberg Jewelers. But on this timepiece, I think that this one will be handed down to my next generation. So that was the Roger Dubuis timepiece. As I said, it's a $29,000 watch, so it is a bit expensive. You're only getting the 2-counter chronograph, so some people might say, well, I'm not buying a $30,000 watch when I can buy, you know, 5 or 6 other watches, and that's fine. But I just wanted to basically say, in terms of the movement, the mechanism, the fact that there's only 280 of them in the world. I mean, it's a super rare piece, and it's an unbelievably beautifully designed and finished product. So for me, this is definitely top. Thankfully, I do have some watches, so we're not going to just talk about pictures. I felt like it's really important to show product, and for me to be able to explain the product, I think it's important to actually hold it and show you the features as I explain them. So I'm just going to grab this tray of watches, and before I do that, while everybody's paying attention, right behind me we have a couple of gifts. We have the Patek Philippe, we have an F.P. Journe book, we have a Patek tie. So after the show, we're going to be having Danny and Brian Govberg. So it's called Watches Live. Please make sure that after my show you tune into that, because there's going to be a lot of cool giveaways every 15 minutes. I'll touch base before we end the show, but I just want to remind everybody, if you see a couple of things there, we'll be having some really great giveaways. So first piece that I wanted to talk about was the AP Royal Oak Offshore. This is a stainless steel chronograph, 3-counter chronograph. Do you have that? And this timepiece is actually a 42mm, and I thought it was a 45mm timepiece up until I spoke to Tim today, who corrected me and said it's a 45. So that was kind of one of the cons. I said, if this is a 42 millimeter timepiece, I said, I wonder what their 45s look like. Obviously, it's an in-house movement. It's $26,000, so you're getting a lot for your money. You're getting an Audemars Piguet in-house movement, this beautiful strap, alligator strap with the red stitching, which I happen to love. Black and red on timepieces is always one of my favorite colors. And also the dial itself, you have black, red, and white. The numbers are actually white gold numbers with superluminova, and you have the red tachometer. So nice red, black, white accents makes the watch really stand out. And as I said, it's stainless steel, so that keeps the cost down. If you look at the back of the watch, you've got this beautiful gold rotor. And actually on the rotor, if you look really close, you have the crest of the Audemars and the Piguet family. The strap is actually connected to the case by screws, and I think that's a really smart move because on a hefty watch like this, you need a little bit of mobility. You don't want it to be too stiff. The buckle. Now the buckle's a Tang buckle, so for the people who love deploying buckles, this might not be the piece for you. But in terms of wearing it, you could wear this, you could dress it up, you could dress it down. I would probably, if I owned this watch, I would wear this a lot. It spoke to me today when I was looking around the sales floor today to try and pick some timepieces. I said to myself, well, obviously I want to pick some pieces that I really love, and I want to pick pieces that we have. So I've been staring at this watch for a couple of weeks now, and I said, today I'm going to make you famous. So this is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore. As I said, it retails for $26,000. We do have it. It's brand new. It's an unbelievable timepiece, so come and check it out if you'd like. Next on my list was the Hublot Big Bang, and I wanted to talk about Hublot not just because because it reminds me of the AP and because it's similar to my Roger Dubuis timepiece, but also because the fight over the weekend. So I feel like there's going to be a big spike in sales for Hublot thanks to the money team, Floyd Mayweather. Great fight tonight on Saturday. So this is the Big Bang. It's a classic fusion, Aero Fusion Black Magic. It's a 45 millimeter. So as I mentioned to you before, this is a 42 millimeter in the AP. You have a 45 millimeter case, and essentially it looks like it's actually the same size as the AP. So one of the advantages of this timepiece is it actually is a 45 millimeter case, but it wears slimmer than the Royal Oak Offshore. Price-wise, I think you're getting a great deal here. It's a $16,000 watch. Of course, it's not an in-house movement, but at the same time, it is a beautifully decorated movement. It's skeletonized, which is a feature that I absolutely love. You have ceramic case. You also have some elements of steel, and you also have some elements of titanium. It has an exhibition back, which is always great. I love to see the inner workings of the timepiece. And the shininess, the luster of the ceramic, it's really nice. It's not too shiny. It almost looks a little bit metallic, not too black, not too sort of, it has a little bit of a metallic feel to it. If you look even closer to the dial, and I learned this from watching one of Tim's episodes today, it actually has 3 different sapphire crystals. And the first crystal is obviously the top. The second crystal is the dial, and then beneath the dial, you actually have another crystal which is making a rotation, and that's for the date. If I were to pick a piece that I wanted for around 15 to 20,000, this would definitely be up there. Some of the other cons about this timepiece is, well, it's all black and it kind of just, you know, it looks just like an all black watch. And I'm sure that Hublot offers different color straps, so if you wanted to change it up, if you were going down to Florida, you wanted to throw a white strap on it. I personally like the black and red, so you could even do something with the strap where you do black strap, red stitching. I'd even do a red strap, black stitching. One of the biggest mistakes that I think collectors do and customers do is they always just take the watch with the strap that they have and that's it. It's a big mistake. when you have such a beautiful watch like this, I think it's always great to accentuate it by always adding more straps in different colors to your collection. I always said, change your strap, change your watch. So once again, this is the Big Bang Classic Fusion, Aero Fusion, Black Magic. It's definitely a mouthful. And once again, congrats to Floyd Mayweather and also to McGregor for actually having the guts to jump into the boxing ring with one of the greatest fighters of all time, next to Mike Tyson. The last piece that I wanted to talk about on Top Shelf Tuesday. Remember, every Tuesday we're going to be doing this, and I promise you it's going to get even more exciting. We're going to have even more fantastic timepieces, but we want to start a little bit soft and a little bit slow. We have the Omega Speedmaster, and this is the dark side of the moon. It's a coaxial, 44 millimeter. This is completely made of ceramic, from the case to the lugs to the bezel to the crowns to the pushers. It also has this beautiful open exhibition movement. So it's an automatic movement. It's an in-house Omega. And, well, this watch was made famous because the original Speedmasters were the first watches that ever were on the moon, that flew on the Apollo 11 mission. So a very classic brand. And basically today, what Omega did, actually not today, in 2013, they decided to get a little bit, go a little bit avant-garde and change that classic chronograph and introduce a new material, which is this ceramic case. So the overall theme that you saw here today, was chronograph watches, obviously black, because I wanted to sort of keep within a theme of a color scheme. And just to talk a little bit more about this timepiece, what I really also like about it is you have a 2-counter chronograph, but you actually have the hours and the minutes in one of the counters. And of course you have the normal second hand at 9 o'clock and a date. So for me, a watch is always very complete when you have a date, and 3-counter chronographs aesthetically look really nice, but when you have a 2-counter chronograph, I think it's a little bit more balanced, and especially when you have that hour and minute counter at the 3 o'clock position. So for the value, I believe that this watch retails for around $12,000. We have this watch pre-owned, comes with box and papers as well, and the retail is about $8,000. So you're getting essentially a brand new watch. Maybe somebody wore it a couple times before, but they changed their taste. It's ours now, and it could be yours. So please call us. The number is on the screen. You can also stop by at 1921 Walnut Street. That's in Philadelphia. And come check out these 3 watches amongst many others. So without further ado, I've talked about these 4 timepieces. My personal timepiece, the Hublot Big Bang, the Omega Speedmaster, and of course, the famous Royal Oak Offshore stainless steel. Every single one of these timepieces is under $30,000. And what I'd like to talk about, oh, sorry, I'm talking over there. So what I'd like to finish up the show with is basically just to conclude what we discussed. So going forward, we're going to really try and talk about timepieces that are above the 20, 30, even up to the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 timepieces like you saw in my video. For right now, like I said, I wanted to start a little bit soft. Not that these watches are inexpensive. We're talking about $12,000, $16,000, and $30,000. So it's not inexpensive, but at the same time, our tastes are going to get more and more expensive, and we're going to get into the more rare pieces and the rarer companies. I want to thank all of you for, once again, taking the time to spend a couple of minutes with me and learning a little bit more about what it is that we're doing here, a little bit more about the timepieces that I love. And as I said, this is a great opportunity for any of you who are into high-end, just like a car. It doesn't mean that if you can't afford it, that doesn't mean that you can't follow it. I mean, I'm into cars like Ferraris and Paganis and Lamborghinis. I mean, just because I drive an Audi doesn't mean I'm not going to go to the car shows and check out my favorite high-end cars, my favorite supercars. So I know that many of us out there, we can only afford or you know, whatever's in our wheelhouse, but at the end of the day, there's really a lot of beautiful, very expensive, very limited, very complicated timepiece out there, and we're going to actually go one by one and see what's out there together. Please stay tuned. After this episode, there's a link beneath, and check out Watches Live. You're going to see probably the two most entertaining father-son combination in the industry. It's probably one of the reasons why I moved from New York to Philadelphia, just to watch these two go at it. But Danny and Brian Govberg, oh my God, you guys are gonna die laughing. I mean, really, it's gonna be a great episode. There's tons of giveaways. Every 15 minutes, there's little gifts hidden behind me. There's little gifts hidden all over the place, but in general, it's gonna be a great episode. This is probably one of the most iconic families in the watch industry. So stay tuned, enjoy, and please keep those comments and emails coming. I'll see you guys next week.